Prison reform is the attempt to improve conditions inside prisons, establish a more effective penal system, and implement alternatives to incarceration. A prison sentence serves only as a restriction of the right to liberty. However, basic human rights, limitations, and serious health issues have garnered attention throughout prisons in America.
Prisons are plagued by issues such as poor sanitation, diseases, and mistreatment of inmates. Prison conditions oftentimes put inmates at an increased risk of contracting influenza, sexually transmitted diseases, and airborne diseases as compared to the general public. HIV is 10 to 20 times more prevalent in the correctional setting as compared to the general public. Similarly, 25% of inmates in the US have latent tuberculosis. Access to soap, clean laundry, and water is rationed. In the article Clinical Infectious Diseases by Joseph A. Bick, the causes of poor mental and physical health of prison inmates is discussed. The book concludes that the main reason disease is almost impossible to avoid in prison is due to overcrowding. With too many inmates, healthcare is not easily accessible or available. As mentioned in NCBI, prisoners cannot even obtain healthcare equipment themselves because they could potentially be turned into weapons or escape paraphernalia. Prisons also have limited access to isolation rooms, which could be beneficial when someone has a contagious illness.
The United States incarcerates its citizens at a rate 5 times that of the UK, 6 times that of Canada, and 15 times that of Japan. In over 18 US states in 2014, prisons were reported to be operating at over 100% of their capacity, and prisons in the United States have been seen to hold up to 210% of their capacity.
A man named Wilbert Jones left prison in Baton Rouge at the age of 65 after a judge threw out his conviction for rape because the prosecution failed to turn over to the defense evidence that might have helped his case. Jones was imprisoned at 19 years old, serving 46 years in prison for a crime he was never convicted of. These systematic issues with how the justice system operates have made the United States the incarceration capital of the world.
Overcrowding in prisons is the main stem of many of these issues. The 2.3 million people in the American criminal justice system are put into just under 7,000 facilities around the nation. As a result, prisoners have been subject to serious health issues. Prisoners often have little access to fresh air and exercise, and in turn, serious diseases such as HIV, tuberculosis, hepatitis B and C, and other sexually transmitted diseases have substantially increased amongst prisoners in the United States.
Generally speaking, prison resources are allocated equally amongst inmates. Thus, the more inmates in a prison, the more dispersion of resources. Heavily populated prisons, in turn, provide less attention per inmate, significantly decreasing the quality of care. By tending to the hectic prison populations, we can attempt to relatively improve conditions.
Admitting less citizens into prison, reforming cash bail systems, and seeking alternative methods of correction can set the country on a path to depopulating the facilities and saving money which can be used to keep the prisons clean. In addition, the immoral cash bail system that leaves too many people in jail without a conviction should be reformed, inevitably freeing hundreds of thousands of Americans from unjust incarceration. These solutions could help reduce America's prison population, thus resolving the poor conditions that American inmates face.
According to the Brennan Center for Justice, prison costs $31,000 a year per prisoner, while probation is about 10 times cheaper. A realistic and necessary measure that can be taken to do so is to avoid unnecessary imprisonment for petty crimes, instead opting for probation, treatment, or community service. In addition, 70% of people in jail have not been convicted of a crime and are only there because they cannot afford cash bail. This system is immoral and should be ended, as innocent people should not be occupying jails, wasting thousands, if not millions of dollars.
With less inmates, prisons would be able to provide better healthcare and access to sanitary resources, increasing the overall conditions of facilities.